Ladies and gents, I got a special guest with me tonight. We're spooky hours. We got Nick from Tales from the Gridsquare. Now, Tales from the Gridsquare is kind of like a staple for your GWAT veteran, man. It's like a breath of fresh air, if you will. We got the stories that you wouldn't normally hear. And if you don't mind me asking, brother, how did it come about?
No, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. And I gotta say, speaking of spooky hours, what time is it over there? It has to be way past the witching hour for you,
Three in the
man.
morning, brother.
Oh
3
shit.
o'clock. Spooky shit goes down.
Yo, yeah, you're at that's the prime hours,
Yep,
you
yep.
know. But yeah, no, I started Tales from the Grid Square. Shit, I've always liked paranormal crap, and ever since I was a kid, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I love learning about
Yep. Yep.
urban legends and stuff. I always tell people like you. I don't know if you remember there was like the Weird US series.
Yep.
Yeah, and they had like a book, and like every state I went to and every state I visited, I try to get the book so I could read up at the legends and stuff like that. You know,
Oh,
my
hey,
grandma had a haunted.
for the people that watch this that don't know what Tales of the Grid Square is, give us a brief explanation about
Oh
what.
yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so Tales from the Grid Square is a project run by myself. I'm a one man show where I kind of document and catalog like we always have like the war stories from the veterans and like what people have seen in the war and stuff like that, but there's like there's not the place to collect all those other stories and like those weird ones. There's like not normal stories. I ain't talking about like the the barracks parties gone
The
wrong, but I'm
smoke
talking
pit
this.
novels. Yeah, we're talking about
Yeah,
the spooky stuff. Okay, I hear you.
yeah, those things that like when you're sitting on staff duty and it's 3 in the morning and you're just like both burning out your minds. Inevitably, you start talking about all the weird shit you've seen in life. We're talking about those stories, and
Okay.
so as I like not shy about admitting, Tales from the Grid Square started after I got drunk off a couple beers, and I was like, I should like drunkenly. I think this would be a great idea. I'm gonna create this page, and so like I created this page, and I woke up the next morning. I was like, so what am I doing now with this thing? Like like I got this far. Like, what am I doing?
Some of the best ideas come after a couple brews, my friend.
Yeah. So from there, I kind of got my feet wet. I kind of got like, poked around. People started sharing stories, and eventually it just like steamrolled. I was actually on Sasquatch Chronicles, and when I went on the show with Wes, like that's kind of when it took off. It was like I went from I think like 1,000 followers, or like like 600, 700 followers to like 10,000 followers within a
Damn.
month. Insane. Yeah. So with that though, is like more followers I got for every like 10 people that followed, maybe like two of them could share a story,
Now,
and
were they
so
mostly military off the jump, or were they just guys from that demographic from the
um
watch?
for the most part, yeah, it was actually military veterans. It really kicked off. I guess there was a lot of military dudes that. So in the beginning, I had a lot of help from the other military Instagram pages. Like there's not a JTAC and Salty
Yep,
Kilo were around that
of course.
time. There's some other ones. It was actually I think originally it was not a JTAC. During COVID, they were doing him and Salty Kilo were doing I think it was like Tuesdays or Thursdays during the lockdown. Like people would just send him like their weird stories and he would just
Yeah, I
screenshot them
saw
and throw
that.
them up on a
Yep.
story. Yeah, and I thought that was always so cool because I was like blown away, like, like, oh wow, like there's some fucking crazy shit people are
Yeah,
seeing. And that was like two like probably about 2 3 years
3
before
years
I
ago. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, and that like about 2 years, maybe a year and a half later, I started Tales from the Grid Square because I was like, this is like a great idea, and I got drunk and fucking like, let's do it, and then I woke up and I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like I'm starting from scratch, like um. So yeah, but now like ever since I went on those Sasquatch Chronicles, the confessionals, there's a lot of veterans that like watch that, and it was part of why people share their stories and want to share is I keep things anonymous. Right. So like very few times I credit people with the story. And that's only if like they like explicitly say like, I want you to tag me in this story. I want you to credit me. For the most part, like keeping anonymous, I think allows people to like,
Express
kind of
themselves a
like,
lot more openly.
yeah,
Yeah.
get it off their chest and like,
Not worried about
I'm
being judged. Yeah, of course.
yeah. And I'm not gonna like pick apart their story. One, I just don't got the time to like obviously there's some shit like, somebody tells me, yeah, I was a Marine scout space shuttle door gunner or some fucking shit like that, like I can see through that. Like I've been in the army like 9 years. Like there comes to a point, or I can, oh, I was special forces. Well, I just so
It
happen to know
sucks
people in
because like
special
guys like
forces.
that, dude, they bring the scrutiny to these stories.
Yeah,
The doubt, if you will.
yeah,
Um, it's like what I mean, because it seems like 50% of these stories to me are guys that kind of want attention. And then there's that other 50% that
yep,
you hear it and you get that kind to me when I feel like a story is real is when I get that like feeling in my stomach, that kind of grips
yeah,
like, ooh, that's odd. That feels
yeah.
real. You know what I'm saying?
Like you get that woo. You're like ooh, like you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
goosebumps start forming. You're like I
Yep,
don't like that.
yep. Yeah, exactly.
I know. Yeah, like there's definitely people that I think I don't know how old you are, but like I'm 30, 31, almost 32. Like I
Turning
was definitely in
35.
like that. Yeah, so we were in that generation where like we were kind of like we're not completely terminally online, but we were there
Yeah,
for
right
like
before. Yeah,
yeah, right before, but we were there for like all the OG stuff.
of
So
course.
like all the creepy pasta, Slender
Oh,
Man, shit
creepy
like that.
pasta. That's a good one.
Yeah. And so like there's definitely people that try to pass like a creepy pasta by.
Yep.
And like, you can apply a little like,
Common sense
reasoning,
and, yeah,
like,
due
oh,
diligence. Yeah.
I was in Afghanistan and I saw these Suburbans pull up with these dudes in like black suits, and I'm like, oh, this makes no fucking
Come
sense.
on.
Like we all know what the CIA does in
We all
Afghanistan.
play
They
Call
build
of Duty,
little,
guy. Come on.
yeah, like this isn't yeah, exactly. This isn't Modern Warfare 2. Nice try. Or
If you don't mind me
or
asking, dude, I mean, you've been doing it for how long now? How long have you been doing
uh, yeah, I don't even know. 3 years? Yeah,
okay.
for
Okay,
about
so
three
since
years.
since since you started, give me like how I just described how like
Yeah.
I hear, a story and I feel like it's real. Give me the story that made you like feel that a little bit. Made you feel a little bit worried because oh shit, that feels like it's real. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, oh yeah, that's damn. There's been a couple of them. I know UFO ones, right? There's UFO ones could be really hit or miss. There could be like, there's some are super easy to explain, like it's a plane, comet, rocket,
I mean, shit, dude, we
SpaceX.
live in a time where it's pretty much been acknowledged that there's stuff flying around that we don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like the bonkers part. And like, and I personally have seen UFOs. Well, what I believe to be UFOs.
No shit.
I've seen something in the sky, and
You
I
couldn't
like that
explain.
feeling you describe, like that feeling in the pit of your stomach, like the woo feeling.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's like some stories I'll get will they'll tell me that, and like I'll like what was the most recent one was about it was this army couple when they were still together before they got divorced. They were going cross country. They were going from like Fort Lee, which is where their army school was, and they're going back to their National Guard unit. So they're traveling cross country, and they remember she stopped at like some like rest stop, right? And she remembers she was at the rest stop and started like the radio started acting weird, their phone started acting weird, things like got fuzzy, and she remembers seeing like this like figure, this like image thing, right? Of like this weird looking person like staring in her window, like his, and it was actually because she hit me up because I posted a meme, like just a fucking goofy ass like spooky meme that I
Yeah.
found, and I'll have to pull it up. And she's like, "That's what I saw this." I'm like, "What do you mean you saw this?" She's telling me the story, and it's like freaking me out. And she's like, "Yeah, we were at the rest stop, and like, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I saw this creature, and then the next thing I knew, it was like 1 in the afternoon the next day." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, pump the brakes here." 1 in the afternoon the next day, and
Wow.
I kept kind of like pulling it out of her, and it's like bro, like the more detail she gave, and like she would talk to her at that time ex, and like he was kind of corroborating the details. She was sending me like screenshots from like her text, and I
Damn.
was like, bro, like I think you got abducted by aliens. Like this is like like this is like some fucking close
Damn.
encounters of the fire from the sky shit, man. Like I think you got abducted by aliens.
That's wild, dude. I mean,
Yeah, that would have me.
so you posted some that like were in country about I think like some Marines on, in line companies and it a lot of guys like that, dude, they're not lying. They don't have any other place to tell a story like that. And some of them like, I mean, I think it was like ghosts in country or something, or guys showing up
Oh,
that didn't know where they were or why they came, like where they
oh
were,
yeah.
and then they just disappear back into nothing, shit like that. Like,
there
I don't
was
know.
that one, especially from Marines on the line, and I like bring it up, and people like acknowledge. I don't get a lot of stories, but I get a lot of acknowledgement. And I think it was Nowzad,
Yep, now's that. Yep.
the school, like a school in Nowzad that was like where the Taliban
Yeah.
like executed a bunch of people,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Marines took it over, and like fucking not cash money stuff happened,
Yeah.
where like shadow people, poltergeist activity, like all sorts of just deranged like horror movie crap in this like school, this old schoolhouse, you know.
That's
And
wild.
I posted like one or two stories that were very short, and I had a lot of Marines hit me up like, hey, I don't really have a lot to say on this, but yeah, that's real. That shit is like was going
Damn.
down there.
That is creepy.
Yeah, and of
So
course,
tell me, are
I've
you are
come to
you
believe.
like are you religious? Do you believe in like, a higher
Yeah,
power? Yeah.
yeah, I consider myself like Christian. Um, I wouldn't say like I'm Catholic or that, but more Protestant. Or I consider myself, I guess, non-denominational.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Right. So I do believe like there's ghosts, there's demons, there is a God, that Jesus Christ is real. I, a lot of these things people experience, I think, are legitimately real. Because I've experienced them personally. I've
See,
read too many stories that kind of like all talk about the same stuff. It's just kind of hard to ignore. Like something's happening.
see, I feel like we're
Yeah.
coming into a time, dude. I'm hearing a lot of people like making these comparisons about UFOs and demons and angels and stuff like
Yeah.
because if you really go back, like back in the day when they were like writing on walls and somehow talking about this stuff in the early, human days, like there's pictures of this shit, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and they're calling it like, an angel in the sky or some kind of being that's glowing or stuff on caves with clear spacesuits or like circles over their head and you look in the Bible and there's actually like things that like depict UFO type behavior or the stuff that we
Yeah, oh
call
yeah.
UFOs today, you know what I mean? So when you start going down to, I mean, just running this page, you must have had to go down a few rabbit holes, bro.
Oh yeah. Like there definitely been some times where I was staying up late at night because like
Yeah.
I was just freaked the fuck out.
You catch
Um,
something that makes kind of sense, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute.
yeah, there's been some ones that I was like thinking, and I think back into my own repressed memories from my childhood, and it was like, yeah, I kind of, I had something similar. Like, it's just weird shit happens that you like are so easy to like pass off. Like, I'll share with your viewers something that happened to me
Please,
recently, and I
please,
actually had like my wife saw it. My wife is the
please.
biggest skeptic. It was for you're familiar out Canada Point
Yep,
on the North Shore, right?
yep.
So we're out there watching the sunset because somebody take the kids to go do, got poke, whatever. And sun's going down, we're going back to the car, right? I see in the distance, I like, Dillingham Airfield is right behind us. They're about to do this big ass exercise they do in Hawaii now. And I see a Blackhawk coming in, and it's very distinct. It's Blackhawk. I see the
Facts.
fucking running lights. I see the
Yep.
blinking lights. It's loud, and it goes to Dillingham, and it does this thing over there. I was like, okay, cool. And I put some stuff up. I have my camera. This is where I make a rookie fucking mistake. I put my camera up. So I'll take a picture of the sunset, and my wife's like, hey, check that out. And I look over, and she has been watching this for like probably like 15, 20 seconds before I looked up. And I see like these fucking lights. And it's like 4 or 5 lights coming down from the sky. So it looks like, I don't know how to describe. When you see like a bunch of the bird, like helicopters coming in,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Hueys or fucking Ospreys, like how they, from a distance when they start coming in, they kind of, you can see them kind of traveling at that weird angle
In
and like the
unison.
running light in unison. And so like they're coming down and it looks like they're coming forward, but they're not fucking helicopters. They're just lights. And they
Damn.
kind of make this motion where they come down and come forward and stop and then start moving like from east to west, right? Or I guess, yeah, moving down
Basically,
towards
something a
like
craft
Kahuku.
of ours could not move.
Yeah. And then this is where it gets weird because my wife turned around to grab one of the kids and I'm like watching and they kind of like start fading out. Like kind of like fading out and fading in. So it's like these are not helicopters, right? Because I see what helicopters look like, and that's civilian airspace. They
Of
have
course,
to have certain lights on and
of
stuff.
course.
And I swear, and this is the part where like as they're fading out, I swear I see them start doing this, like an undulating motion. Like one
So it
will
could be
ascend.
multiple crafts, not one, you're saying?
I think it was multiple craft. And my wife was watching it with me, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And like, there's all these Hawaiian people around me, and like, no one's really like. I think some people are watching, but we're all kind of like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I was getting the heebie-jeebies
Of
from,
course.
I've seen something like that before, long time ago, and I
Really?
do know, yeah, and I could tell you that story, but like I know like Canna Point, like people see shit off Canna Point, like especially West Side, Waianae side, um, over in Makakilo and everything like not Makakilo, Makiki, which is on the west side. There's like I've seen the footage from the guy because
Really?
I've like there's people here that are very connected to the paranormal happenings, and one of them was able to give me a video of this guy, and he literally films off his house. Like there's the ocean in front
Wow.
of him. Every night
Wow.
he'll set up like a time lapse, and you'll see the lights going in and out of the water. Man,
That's
it
wild.
gives me goosebumps when I watch it.
I
And
wonder,
people
like,
see
I
shit like
often
that.
try to like speculate like what that really means. Like, let's say there is like things like flying around that aren't human. Does that like mean that we have, I mean, seriously, like it blows my mind that that's not talked about more, that more people don't
Oh
really
yeah,
think about that. But if there's things flying around in our airspace that we don't know what they are, is that, I mean, that's a higher intelligence, clearly,
yeah,
and that's observing us to a
oh
certain
yeah.
degree. You know what I mean?
There was
Like,
there's another time I was here. I'm on Schofield Barracks. I'm kind of in a spot that's like in the back away from like the main base, but it's the airfield. And I was out with my neighbor, and my neighbor spotted it first. And he was like, he was coming back from a walk with his kids. He's like, "Yo, I just saw this like black triangle over the airfield." What do you mean black triangle? Like it's like Saturday night. There's no aircraft flying. The lights on the runway are off. It's like, yeah, dude, it was a black triangle. And he like turns around. It's like, look, in fact, there it is. And like sure as shit, there's just fucking like these like three white lights in a triangle, and like you can see the stars behind it. It's like a black fucking triangle
that's
floating over
wild.
the fucking airfield.
That's
And
fucking
like I like poked around because I'm nosy, and like I have to be careful so I don't oust because like I stay anonymous, not because like I feel like I'm not doing anything wrong. I feel I'm dotting my P's and Q's, but like
yeah.
the minute I kind of like put a face to myself, like I just
Yeah,
want
I
people
get
to
it. I
like,
get it. I get it.
I want people to know that like I'm just also another anonymous guy.
Of
But
course.
anyways, like hey, was there any aircraft flying around over the weekend? You guys got the flight tracker? Like nothing, like nothing. And digging around enough, people have seen black triangles out here over Schofield since like the 80s.
To me though, bro, like if there's stuff like that, like black triangles that are somewhat human related, a triangle is a human shape to a certain degree, and a lot of them have lights.
Yeah.
To me, a lighted craft that is in a form of or a shape that's somewhat we can recognize, I feel like that might be the military industrial complex testing out some new
Right.
shit. You know what I'm saying? To me, I truly believe that things have crashed here that, you know, whatever is the highest intelligence agency that takes care of that stuff, they've tried to reverse engineer and,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
make into something that we can utilize. Most definitely, I would think.
Oh yeah. That'd be stupid not to.
Right?
I mean, shit. Like you look back, like you're talking like historical record. Like you find this
Roswell.
shit everywhere. And the most like so I'm trying to write. I'm researching some topics to write for a fiction book in the future.
I saw that.
Um, and so one of the one I'm looking for like weird stuff like people haven't heard of, right? So there's actually I think it was Utsuro. It was a in 1803 in Japan. People documented that a fucking craft fell from the sky and washed up
Wow.
ashore on this like town in like I think like the Hitachi prefecture, which doesn't exist anymore. I think it was the closest place would be near like I think it was like Yamagato or something like that, Japan on the coast, but it was a hollow ship, and that that year was recorded. Many hollow ships fell in Japan, and in this one though, there was like a woman of sorts with a box that
Wow.
like basically evaded everyone and ran into the hills.
What the?
And I was like googling like meteor showers in 1803, and there was like a series of massive meteor showers recorded
Wow.
during this time.
Wow.
Maybe it was something else. I found that bonkers. Like, and it's super obscure in like Japanese culture because it was obviously like not recorded a lot. It was 1803. This is like when they closed back down their borders. So like, there's nothing much on this, but it's super fascinating because, like you say, like,
Dude, shit like this is so interesting to me, dude.
yeah,
It's like the last form of like, I don't know, not treasure hunting, but trying to like find answers to things that we don't understand yet,
oh
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Unless you want to fucking find the shit you understand and freak yourself out.
Yeah, because I mean, when you start going down some of these rabbit holes, dude. Like it gets kind of dark, honestly, because
Oh yeah.
a lot of it turns into some kind of, I mean, if it is a higher power, it gets kind of like convoluted to whether it has something to do with religion. And I mean, I don't know if you've gone back into like the Anunnaki stuff.
Yeah. It's like
I,
some rabbit holes.
I don't know whether to believe it or not, I mean, but it is significant that I think the oldest human society, I think it's the Sumerians.
Yeah.
They wrote about this shit, dude. Like they
Oh yeah.
literally documented it, and not only that,
Oh
they had a perfect scale of the universe. Like this
yeah.
is,
Have you ever seen the Fukushima UFO footage?
I have not.
Oh, dude, you need to check it out. I get goosebumps thinking about it. So like, I didn't really know about this like until way after the fact, obviously. But like after like Fukushima, like during Fukushima, like the actual meltdown and the tsunami and everything, there were like tons of UFO sightings.
Really?
Yeah, and there's actually footage of like lights in the like circling the reactor, dude. It's fucking creepy.
There's a lot of patterns to like natural disasters and
Yep.
seeing things like that. I wonder what that it makes me think. Like, I mean, if that is a correlation, dude, there's gotta be something just observing what's going on here. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what that really means, Truman Show-esque, but it's certainly something interesting to dive into, man. And I feel like it gets a lot of hate, for some reason, a lot of people like, I don't know if they don't want to open their minds or if they just get mad at people that can open their minds, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do you
There's
get
a
people
lot of
hating on your page like that? Like closed-minded people?
oh yeah, yeah. I like try to not engage. I'm like, because it's just not worth my time. Like, you're
Yeah,
absolutely
of
right.
course.
Yeah. Reptilian Hillary Clinton is a reptile. Yeah. Like, like there comes a point where like, all right, you're annoying, I'm
Yeah,
blocking you or
exactly.
whatever.
Taking
But
it too seriously.
I think a lot of times it's, people parrot like the stuff they hear as like fact without kind of like
Yeah,
applying that
doing
critical
their
thinking of
own
like,
yeah, exactly. You're
like
right.
let's think about this or like, consider somebody brought up another veteran I talked to who's like big into Bigfoot, right? And like super low key. I won't dime him out, but like he's gone so far as to speak with like Dr. Meldrum, right?
Oh, okay.
Like Dr. Meldrum is like the Bigfoot researcher.
Yeah. Yep.
Goddamn Roomba scared the shit out of me. Fuck. You can keep that in there. Everyone knows how jumpy I am. But he brought up a good point. He's like, every Bigfoot cast footprint, right? You have to assume every single one of them is a fake. Because the minute you assume one of them is real, they're all real.
That's true.
Yeah, and I was like, that's an excellent point. So you kind of have to like look at these things with like a skeptic's eye, you
Are you a
know.
big Bigfooter?
Oh, absolutely. That's like one of the things I 100% believe exists is Bigfoot.
Really? What do you think? What do you think it is? You think it's just like an
I just
old species of something that we haven't really
yeah,
found?
I just so like this is my schizo theory,
Yeah,
right?
please.
So I do think it is a relic hominid or lost ape, right? And the government knows it exists. It's real. They're not going to acknowledge it, right? Because the lumber industry is one of our biggest industries in the United
That's
States,
true.
right?
That's true.
It's like one of our few industries left. So, what would happen if overnight it's revealed that one of the world's rarest hominids or rarest primates is running around North America?
People would freak the fuck out. Yeah.
People freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
So first off, like land development would stop because
Yeah,
now
that's
there's
true.
territories, there's
That's true.
this thing has to be protected. Lumber industry is gone. And these
Yep.
national parks suddenly come into play. Roads, like this huge ecological disaster unfolds. And then yeah, people start freaking the fuck out. So now you have this like now let's dig into like all the disappearances and whatever. Now
So
people are
anything
gonna
that
go
stops the money, basically, right?
anything that stops the money or like gets people panicking. Because here's the other thing too to that, not just the money. If you have the world's rarest monkey out there that might be snatching people up and killing them and eating them, right? That's responsible for some of these disappearances. People are going to want to get on the action.
Of
People are
course.
going to go into the fucking
Start
forest,
hunting.
go
Yeah,
start
exactly.
hunting these things down,
Yeah.
killing these things out, and now this endangered animals extinct, right? So like the best way is just to not acknowledge it.
Yeah, I hear
And
that.
like
100%.
you start going to places like fucking Lejeune, apparently, like fucking
I've heard
Marines in
that.
Lejeune.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm still chasing this story, but there is apparently these Marines, this group of Marines on gate guard in like 2000, like I think it was like 14 or some shit. Like they all saw a fucking Sasquatch come out of the woods and basically like walk up to the fucking duty hut in the middle of the night or it's
Wow.
like early in the morning and like stare them down, like close enough to like they can see detail on the creature, and then it would just kind of like stare them down and then just walk back into the woods like nothing. And it
Damn.
wasn't a guy in a suit. The
Damn.
smell, everything, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
still looking for these people to come forward and tell me the story,
Huh.
you know. But
That's
yeah, I
wild.
100% like this. Just you just can't ignore the evidence. It's like you say with UFOs, like the native tribes have been talking about this thing for
Yeah.
their whole
Yeah.
history. You know,
Yeah. I
the
don't know. I
Patterson
feel like
Gimlin
some
thing.
people just like try to discredit it like so heavy. Like for instance, I mean, this is kind of not really related, but it's something that I go heavy on. I do not believe that we went to the moon. I am I really feel like, and I've done a lot of looking into like what was going on at the time, how we were battling with Russia for dominance at the time, and just not only that, the technology we had at that time was just so not, I mean, not only that, why haven't we gone back? Why haven't, we done anything to do with the moon since then? Because we lost the technology apparently. Uh,
Well, like I'll meet you halfway on this. You know, it's like you said, follow the money. There was no more. There's no money to be gained in the mood right now, and I'll meet you halfway on this. I think you could easily buy. So I believe we did go to the moon, but I understand why people. Some of the theories make
or
sense, right?
skeptic, yeah.
But I think like you could argue that we probably went to the moon. The footage sucked. It wasn't epic enough, and so we filmed it on location. But we did go there because we got moon dust and all this other crap, right? Um, but I could definitely see the U.S. government being like, we did it. It doesn't look as cool, so we're gonna refilm it. Or you can go to the whole other fucking theory, go down the rabbit holes. We did go to the moon, and there was things up there that we weren't supposed to find.
To me, if we went to the moon, bro, we would have monetized it. We would have monetized it.
Fair,
They'd be doing trips up there. There'd be a fucking,
yeah.
some kind of something up there to make like,
So, so I'll do you one better. Have you heard of the theory that we do have a base on the moon?
yeah, I've heard
It's
that.
been
I've
been
heard
there
that.
from the 50s,
Yeah, yeah.
or the theory that when they were like, what's it, the Sea of Tranquility, whatever.
Yeah.
They were in the crater. They
Yep.
got to the end of it, and then they
Yep.
saw like a fleet of ships up there that were hanging out. Like they saw something they haven't, so that's why we haven's gone back. There's something else.
I
There's
mean,
something up there we
you
weren't meant to
hear
find.
what's that astronaut I think it's is it Glenn or one of them
Buzz Aldrin.
says I can't remember his name, but he has some pretty wild stories about the moon. And he's an astronaut and he went there apparently, but I don't know. I don't know, dude. I see what you just said, like, the River of Tranquility and the base on the moon, like that's what people start not believing this stuff for. But hey,
Yeah,
listen,
because it's so outrageous.
yeah, I'm open-minded, dude. I don't- like honestly, in the time we live in, if you're 100% certain on anything because someone told you that, you're kind of ignorant. I mean, do your own research, figure out what's going on around it, and use some common sense and make your own opinion about things. It's I don't I
Oh
don't
yeah,
I don't honestly I don't space is so is every time I start like trying to open my mind about space, it's just so big and the possibilities are so endless and we don't under the amount that we don't understand are just is so
oh yeah,
vast. Like I just found out that every picture, I mean I didn't just find this out, but it's something I talk about sometimes. Every picture we've taken of space is AI generated. Like, so if they have a picture of like when AI generated meaning the color that's put into it,
yeah,
because they only have like the shapes of things that's in black and white through a telescope, basically. So all color that's put into anything from space is all what they think.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like the dinosaurs. I was
yeah,
imagine my fucking shock when I found out that the dinosaurs I grew up with, like, yeah, we not sure if they look like that.
yeah, yeah,
What the
yeah, yeah,
fuck you
yeah.
mean? Like, they're just like, yeah, fuck it, good.
All the
That's
bones that are in museums are fake. Obviously they can't put real bones in museums. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the things that we grew up thinking was like legit 100%. It's it's
oh
not
yeah,
what I thought. And that a lot of people don't question some things that like we should be questioning because listen, we all have busy days. We all work.
yeah,
It's 9 to 5.
And
rush.
then there's that slippery slope when you start believing everything is a
That's what I
conspiracy.
mean because yeah,
Everything's a
yeah,
conspiracy.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Like,
I think it's to be a healthy skeptic about things
yeah,
and use critical thinking and not just don't believe everything you hear. Do your own
yeah,
research
exactly.
and figure out what you want to believe. And I mean, today we live in a world where disinformation is being used as the new
Yep,
form of weaponry. Clearly, sadly, honestly, I mean, look
yep.
at the debate that we just like. Look at the situation the world's in right now. It's kind of crazy. I mean, you're from the same age as me. Like the way that being in the military right now just must be an odd feeling because I mean
Yeah,
I'm used to being in the military and having a strong leader or thinking that we have a
yeah.
strong leader and thinking that we have a because listen I don't know what you believe about 9/11 and the GWAT, but unfortunately as I deployed a couple of times. I
Mhm.
fought in Afghanistan and unfortunately since I've been out I'm starting to see a lot of things that I thought were were real and were the reason that, we went over there to fight, I don't necessarily believe anymore. Um,
Yeah. And that's like I think you should always be a healthy skeptic, especially when it comes to war, right? Because you know I
there's
do
money
think,
behind it, right?
and there's people get misconstrued. Like there are things that are good and bad, like good and evil, right? But a lot of times we live in a world that's just super gray, right? And so like absolutely, military industrial complex benefited from the GWAT, but there were reasons why we got into the GWAT, and there's
To
I
you,
think
to you,
there's
real
things
quick,
to.
what is the military
Mhm.
industrial complex?
So this is if you go back, and this is where my thinking kind of changes for people too. So the military industrial complex was something warned about by President Eisenhower in the 50s, right? And it was basically the and before that, before it was termed by Smedley Butler in his novella Wars of Racket, right?
Yep,
And it's like the whole gist of it being like, hey, if we're so quick to go to war, like, who's the ones that benefit?
exactly.
Well, it's not the guy on the ground. He's the one that's doing the dying and getting wounded. He doesn't benefit from that. Does the officer benefit from that? Like, maybe he's put himself into the same risk, but as you go higher and higher, maybe the generals benefit from it, from their career or whatever. But like, it's those government contractors, it's those businessmen. And I
Corporate
joke
America.
with people like the military industrial complex isn't about guns and shit like that. Once you've been in the military, and especially like from my line of work, when you peek behind I don't know what called Iron
Curtain.
Curtain, the supply curtain,
Yeah,
and you see what these fucking contractors and like just fucking rob us for, you know, because we're at war. A pen that costs $1, they can charge us $13 for it.
absurd, absurd.
Absurd, and just people get away with it. And like just like anything though, like when the lions fight the hyenas, they're both going to get bloodied, but the vulture is the one that benefits the most. He just gets to come and pick up the
Well
bodies
said.
when they're all
Well
done,
said.
right?
I
You
just feel
know.
like military industrial complex today is tossed around so heavily,
Oh
and
yeah.
everyone is just watching Fox News or CNN and they're just shaking their heads, but they have no
Mm-hmm.
fucking idea what that is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And realistically, military industrial complex is capitalism or corporate America getting into warfare to a certain
Yeah.
degree. And they're dictating the terms at this
Yeah.
point. Because I mean, we live in a world today where we're on multiple fronts. We got Ukraine, we got,
Mm-hmm.
Russia, that's pretty much a proxy war for us. And, of course, we have to get involved with Israel and Palestine for some reason, because apparently Israel just runs the United States of America. And also, I mean, we got, who knows what's going on in Syria still or Iraq and the Middle East, but to me, I feel like that's almost that's a detriment to what to America right now. It seems like it's bleeding us dry to a certain degree.
Yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think so. I don't think things have changed much because this same shit was going on during the Cold War.
That's true.
I would say even to a more of an extent because we didn't have the digital age to kind of
I was
like,
just gonna say that.
I
Do you
whip
think
up
we
my
just weren't
phone.
aware? We weren't
Yeah,
aware.
we just weren't aware. Like how could you report on the proxy war in
Very
like
true. Very true.
fucking the Congo? You had a reporter on the ground risking his life. Now you can just anyone whip up their phone, shit, you can geolocate fucking Russian soldiers and
Absolutely.
Ukrainian soldiers.
Very true.
And so like I think just people are exposed to it more, but it's like still the same business as usual. And like I tell people like the Cold War never ended. It's just the game, the
Amplified.
board, the playing board just
Yeah,
shuffled up, right? Like the
true.
players are still there. They just have different names,
Now,
you know.
what really was the Cold War? The Cold War was America and Russia.
I, yeah, the communist bloc countries, communism versus capitalism. Like who's at the very gist of it, who is going to be
The
who is the
strongest.
power, the strongest
Yeah.
in the world, have the most influence, and it's still like
You're
that
right.
today. Like who's
That really just progressed to today, right? That's
yeah,
really what it is. Who is the strongest? Who's the big dick, and
yep.
who can really just have the right, chess pieces in the right areas, I guess. But to me, I mean, I feel like Europe and China and BRICS is all of a sudden a thing, and
Mm,
they're aligning and trying to eliminate the dollar to a certain degree. And I don't know. I think that's somewhat significant to think about. I
yeah,
mean, why? I don't understand. I can't I mean, I get illegals are going to come here, but the fact that Chinese males are coming here in droves across, they literally started an industry of it through the
yeah.
Darien Strait. I mean, the
So I
cartels.
got some I got actually some insight on that too. So like this is obviously not like answering for everything, but like if you look into it, living in China fucking sucks.
Yeah, of course, of course,
Especially like, whereas in America, like, you and I can come off the street, we can barely know how to read, but we can fucking self-educate ourselves and rise up. In China,
of course.
like there's gates. And if you can't progress those gates, you're a laborer. You're middle management. Like you can't. So like I had a professor when I was in school. He was from China. He was pure Chinese, came here legally, loved being an American capitalist, right? Because he talked about like in China, like it's like I think it's like it's like a test you take to go to high school, like their equivalent of high school, and you have to pass it. It's a hard test. It's like fucking SAT on crack, and
Oh,
he's like you have to pay for it. So if you can't afford it, you're not going
can't
past
even.
you're not
Yeah.
getting a high school education. If you fail it, like you're just wasting money. And so like he's like, there's people that fail this multiple times. There's dudes that kill themselves over this
Wow.
because they're never going to progress. They bring shame to their family. So he
Yeah, but
failed it like 3 times and was like, fuck this. He like abandoned he left in the middle of the night.
yeah,
Fucking
but to me, do you really think that anyone can just leave China, bro? You think that
true.
you know what I'm saying? Like to me, I thought that they were they had to let them go. You know what I'm saying? Like China is
Oh yeah.
the last form of, I mean, communism. I mean, is it not to a certain degree?
They,
The
I think
biggest
they're
power
still
player, I
true.
would
It's like
think.
us though.
Yeah,
It's like,
of course, of course. I mean,
that's not to say that my example is not to say that there's people coming here with ill intent.
no,
I'm
I hear
sure
you.
there's all sorts of
Yeah,
there are also it's very well known that they send actors here to
of course.
coerce, to
I
steal
think we
from
just
us.
saw the New York politician had an aide.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that was
exactly.
working. That's a Chinese agent, and I'm like this is very well known they're doing this. Like, and I can't fault someone for wanting to get a better life,
No,
right?
of course not.
To work hard, that's to work hard to make a better life here, and that's where. But yeah, there's also all the shit like, oh yeah, we just found a terrorist training camp on the border
Yeah,
in Mexico, and they're
yeah,
training dudes to go shoot up schools, and then like
yeah.
nothing was talked about, like, and like that also goes into my conspiracy theory is like, you don't hear about these things is because if they really told you what was going on behind the scenes, you would be terrified
Of
to go
course.
outside. And
Yeah.
so I just, I
We
kind of
know
learned
the
this.
media is controlled.
Yeah, and so like I knew I was when I was at EMT back in the day in New York, the guy that taught me, he was on the side. This is kind of ironic, like he was like a bigwig in the fire department. Like he was there on 9/11. He saw the towers fall. Like
Yeah,
he told me straight up, he's like, it wasn't controlled demolition. Like that fucking thing came down on me. Like he
I
was
believe
literally in
that.
the lobby and he just
I
started
believe that.
fucking running.
I
He
believe
looked
that.
up and he just started hauling ass. Crazy. The dude had 1,000 yard stare, but he he was like a bigwig, right? And there's like this, I don't know what the name of it now is, but there's like kind of like SWAT. There's like a mix between SWAT and like first responders, and they were all sort. And I asked him like, hey, well, like, have you ever encountered like nukes and shit like that in the harbor? And he kind of like we were outside smoking. He just kind of like stopped and gave me this look, and he was like, if you knew even like a quarter of what goes on, you would be terrified.
Wow.
And it's like, that's all I'm going to tell you.
I
Right.
mean, it's true. I
And
mean,
it
seriously,
got me thinking. Yeah. Like, yeah, they, of course, they want to, like, they don't want you to know that
they're not going to tell
there's,
us significant
yeah,
stuff like that, you know? I mean, there's
no,
not. I
they're
mean, I
gonna,
think today, nowadays, it might be a little bit harder to control
mhm,
like significant things, but if they can, they will.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And whether that's good or bad, you be the judge. I
Yeah,
do think that if they did tell you like how dangerous the world is, because a lot of people have, I think, this jaded view of like us, the United States is the big bad guys. No, we're
of course.
we're just another fucking predator on
Player
the
in the
scene.
game. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And there are plenty of wolves
Of
out there that
course.
want to like tear into us.
See, that's the problem that we are seeing today, man. A lot of I think it's because a lot of people haven't traveled and they don't realize
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Um, Listen, I understand that there's a lot of shady things that the American government has done and is still doing. But that happens everywhere, man. Like it's and
Worse.
to
Yeah.
to a much
Oh yeah.
more dangerous degree in a lot of places. And a lot of these people that are protesting don't realize that they can't even do that at other
Hmm.
places. Like the fact that they can even get outside and yell with a sign shows you that they're living in a place that is ultimately
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean?
Now, and the flip side of the coin is, yeah, our country can be improved.
Of
Like there
course,
are things that we
of
can be
course.
doing better in the country. But yeah, I think like people view things in black and white, and I think that you know, without realizing that life is really kind of more into a gray area.
Yeah.
It's just like the GWAT, right? The GWAT could have been fought for all the right reasons and all the wrong reasons. That is
Yeah.
100% true.
Very
Just like
true.
on the other side of the coin.
Very true.
And it's like again, this critical thinking you have to apply to it because you got to realize there are also other people, there's other actors trying to get you to think a certain way. And it's so fucking apparent. Like I go look on my, like, I'm a paranormal page, right? So you
Yeah.
think like my Instagram for you would be like paranormal shit. No, it's pornography. It's like
Yeah.
OnlyFans. I'm like, what the fuck
Doesn't make
kind of
any
shit is
sense.
this?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm like, who are these people? Like, but that's
Who
what the
really gets
algorithm,
their kicks off watching porn on Instagram? You know what I'm saying? Like, I
like,
don't understand that.
that's weird, or like, like I'm a paranormal page. Like, you think like I'd get paranormal shit in my like recommended for you page. Like it makes no fucking or a military, right? You I follow all these military pages. I follow your page. You think
Yeah,
I'd get
yeah.
stuff like you? Like, no, I have to go like digging through like people's
Dude,
follow
they
channels.
they do some weird shit with military stuff, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I get shadow banned just for like posting a guy. Like, if I do an episode with somebody, I'll like post a picture of them and I'll say, hey, their episode is out right now. And usually it's a moto pic. Like maybe they'll be
Yeah.
on a gun or on a truck. If
Nope. They
there's
don't like
any
it.
kind of weaponry in the picture, it gets banned. And then I get it's called uh no I don't even know. They call it
They
they call
can't
it
recommend or something.
yeah, yep. But there's pussy and tits being wagged around, like
Oh yeah,
you know
dude.
what I mean? Like what is I do not understand that, but
Or just then there's also like the pictures of dudes holding decapitated heads in Syria and
yeah,
shit. And I was like, I actually
okay.
had a fucking dude that followed me and I got instant red flags from him because like the first fucking picture on his profile had to be somewhere in Afghanistan, which he was holding some fucking head. And I was
Damn.
like, all right, block, like disengage. No, thank you. Like, dude, it's just wild. And that goes back into like, there's people actively taking advantage of this stuff to coerce you without you even realizing that you're, into these trains of thought. And it's really easy to fall into these echo chambers
Yeah, it
where
is,
it's like,
dude.
and it's like I'm here for things getting better. I'm not here for things getting worse, right? And I tell people like sometimes things getting better does means it's not going to look like what you knew.
Yeah. I mean, I still think we live in a time where the internet is pretty free. It's not
Oh yeah,
really checks and balances and restrictions aren't really applied like they're probably going to be.
no,
I mean, we're still the internet is pretty new still.
mm-hmm.
When you think about it, I mean, it just
Oh yeah,
what we're 10 years in, pretty much.
yep. And just think about too, like they're just now starting to comb through
Crack
and
down
sift
on
through
stuff.
things like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
websites that I remember going to as a kid again, like paranormal stuff, right?
Yeah.
I can't find them anymore. They're
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah.
gone,
Very
buried.
true.
Same thing with books, like books that I had about like, you know, all the hot button topics now, like giants and fucking like all these like, you
So
know, Bigfoot and whatnot.
your favorite like paranormal thing is Bigfoot?
Yeah, I'll say Bigfoot. I mean, I do like a good ghost story. So not a lot of people know this. Like my favorite holiday is not Halloween. I'm a Christmas guy, die hard, right? I am actually a big scaredy cat. Like, no, if I get the fucking heebie-jeebies, like, nope, not fucking going there. And I go on ghost hunts with people and stuff like that. I'll never go by myself.
You've been on a
I'm
ghost hunt?
not. Yeah, I've gone around with a buddy of
You've been
mine.
on, so, okay, so you've have you ever seen anything you can't understand?
So on the ghost hunts, no, because I have a theory that there are certain people that are more sensitive to those things. Now, when I have gone looking for things with people that I believe to be more sensitive, for instance, my brother, right, is one of those guys. Like, I love ghost stories. He has had all the fucking crazy shit happen to him.
Really?
There was, I was actually here in Hawaii. We were at, I don't know if you remember in Waikiki, Kapiolani Park,
Yep.
right? So there's a Waikiki ghost tour that happens. The Waikiki Night Marchers. And it's actually Mysteries of Hawaii for your listeners. If you ever come to Hawaii, I highly recommend going on one of the ghost tours. It's not only is it a very spooky like ghost tour, right? But you get an extremely different view of the history of Hawaii by
Cool.
a guy from a guy who is like he is literally the expert on this. Like insane, it's just insane knowledge in history that I just
Cool.
never expect. Like, you know, when you realize you're standing on like what used to be the ocean. Crazy stuff. Anyways, so like there's trees, long story short, there's trees at Kapiolani Park. There's tons of people buried there,
Really?
right? It used to be a graveyard. Yeah, at certain spots, there's like some tennis courts behind the tennis courts. That's all graveyards from a
Okay.
smallpox outbreak, right?
Gotcha.
There's people buried out there at random places because they just started running out of space. But there's these trees. There's these three random trees kind of like off to the side. There's coincidentally also a night marcher trail for your viewers. That's like a Hawaiian legend here. You probably very familiar with it, being
Yep.
having been out here at K-Bay. There's the spirits of ancient Hawaiian warriors come down. I believe it's the third day of the lunar cycle or third to last day. They come down from the mountains and they march, and it's kind of like a big spooky thing. Like people die mysteriously, people vanish, like some crazy stuff. And there's actually a trail that goes through Kapiolani Park, and the cops have reported seeing these things. But anyways, just three trees down there. There's a very large tree, a kind of smaller, medium tree with like lower branches, and then a smaller tree is really easy to climb. Those are all suicide trees, meaning
Oh
like
shit.
in the morning, it's very common to find someone hanging from those trees.
Damn.
And the large tree is for men because the men could climb it easier. The medium tree was enough, it's tall enough for women to climb up into the branches and hang themselves. And the small tree was for children and
Damn.
teenagers. Yeah. So I went out there with my brother. He has you take pictures, and you know, he's very good about educating you. He'll show you a picture, like, you know, it looks like an orb or a ghost. Like, what do you think this is? And you're like, it's a ghost, it's an orb. He's like, it's dust. It's my finger smudged on the camera. Like, to prove to you, you need to be a skeptic,
Yeah,
right?
of
So
course.
this is why I truly think he's like one of the OGs out here. But like because he tells you like, hey, like there's some things you take pictures that can be explained, and there's some things you can't. So my brother, we stood next to each other, we took a picture of one of these trees. I have a picture, the exact same timestamp that he took. Like my picture looks totally normal. In his picture, you see a figure in the background.
Wow.
There's no one, there was no one in front of us.
Damn, that's
Right.
creepy.
And we take three pictures, and the second and third picture I took got extremely blurry. Like, and we only noticed this figure after we took the photos, right? So I took these as I was taking my photos, my camera just wouldn't focus. The flash would go on when I didn't want it to go on. I had another camera with me, like a little, like a smaller camera, but like a powerful one, like an
Yep.
actual one. I took that out. I tried to take it, same thing. Blurred, flash
Huh.
would come on. I couldn't get it focused. The second and third picture I took on my phone were like this. Same thing on the camera. On his picture phones, the exact same time they came out fine, right? In the background, you see this figure that's like off to the like right of the frame, and it gets closer. And in the second picture,
That's
it's like in the
wild.
middle, and it's right behind the tree in the third picture.
Damn.
And it looks like a person wearing like white, like Jordans, like white Jordans, like white Vans or something like that.
What do you,
It's super creepy.
if you were to speculate, bro, what do you think ghosts are?
So there's different trains of thought because obviously I'm not an expert, right? So they're either deceased loved ones, residual energy, people that
That are
haven't passed
stuck?
on,
That are
that are
stuck? You know what I mean?
stuck. Maybe they're not having energy, or if you're like a devout Christian and you really read into the Bible, right? Everyone that dies passes on to the kingdom of heaven, right?
Yeah.
especially if you're a Christian,
Some get stuck in
you know,
purgatory type deal.
some good stuff. Well, so not depending how you interpret it, everyone that dies goes to heaven, right? And to go be with Jesus in the kingdom of heaven. So theoretically, nobody should be back here, right?
Right.
So in the Bible, it talks about how demons take the forms of people, right? So
That
ergo,
is hell.
you know, you see a ghost of like a loved one, it might not be your loved one. It might be something
Yeah.
else. It
Yeah.
might be
Yeah.
something pretending to be your loved one.
Yeah.
So that's where like I'm a firm believer in is like don't acknowledge these things, And I've had
That's
some weird instances like
creepy.
that too,
That's
where it's
creepy.
like because you don't know what you're talking to. Like Ouija boards. Like I don't know what it is about Marines and Ouija boards, man. The Marines love the Ouija boards.
Yeah, we do.
And like I don't know why I tell people like don't fucking fuck with the Ouija boards, man.
We just
Because
like poking shit.
that's like the ultimate example. Like I've assumed you've been like Camp Bueno, Camp Pendleton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that place is haunted as fuck.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
there's a skinwalker there, and I guarantee you Marines fucking throw rocks at it. Like just like it's like I hear a story about Marines like demonic haunting. Like yeah, okay, that tracks. Like Marines demonic haunting. Yep, that's about what I
Getting
expect.
drunk as shit, just trying to
Yeah,
whack a hornet's nest. Yeah.
yeah, and like like dude, like fucking, you don't want to. I don't think people realize it's like like these witches, right? Like, I hail Satan, oh, blah blah blah. Like, oh, why am I so depressed? My life is so miserable. Like, I'm so sad. Like, geez, I wonder fucking why.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I hear you.
Becky, stop fucking around with stop fucking around with shit that you shouldn't be fucking around with. Like,
What the fuck is a skinwalker, dude? Because I've followed the ranch to a certain degree when
yeah,
that millionaire or billionaire owned it. I forget his name,
yeah.
but
So funny thing about that billionaire, he's funded by the U.S. government.
I saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that.
to also look into UFOs.
Shocker.
Shocker. There's other interesting characters like that through history, but yeah. So I mean, if you take the literal legend of a skinwalker, it's a shape shifting Navajo warlock priest of some type,
Yeah.
right? That can
Creepy as
shapeshift,
fuck.
right? It's kind of like become a meme at this point,
Yeah, I
where
know.
it's like, come on. So what I really think a skinwalker is not what the Navajo legend, right? People are seeing shit in the woods that's not a skinwalker. They just call it that. They just call it a Wendigo. Uh, if you go look into like the crawlers, cryptid,
I
mythos,
have.
whatever.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you ever heard of the rake,
Yep.
right? So the rake is fictional. I don't know if you know that.
No, I did not.
Yeah, so the rake is from the Slender Man fucking series.
Slender Man is creepy as fuck.
Slender Man is creepy as shit. Excellent series. Like back in the day, that was so like fucking well done. But if you watch the whole thing, the rake is actually one of the creatures. I think Jake is the main character. The rake is one of the creatures that chases Jake a couple times throughout there, and
Gotcha.
it's this skinless, this like pale humanoid creature with black eyes, runs around on all fours. So that came out, and people were like, "Yo, I've seen the rake. How the fuck you seen the rake? It's not real." Like, no, I've seen that fucking creature in the fucking woods.
Huh.
Pale crawler, sometimes they call it crawlers. Sometimes they're referred to as skinwalker, Wendigo. I've talked to people that live in like North Dakota and like up there in the border, up in super rural fucking areas where they're like, yeah, the Wendigo is just another animal you got to watch out for.
Huh.
It'll call your name and shit like that from the
And
woods.
like
It'll
cry like a
mimic things.
baby and shit, dude.
Yeah,
That's fucked up.
yeah. Start shooting in that fucking direction.
Yeah, facts. So
Like fuck
one
that.
of the creepiest stories I was told, dude, and keep in mind I'm a heavy skeptic with this shit because
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of people that just they want it to be true so badly that they make it true
exactly.
to themselves. But so I was out with this girl that I was talking to at the time, and she's also a very, doesn't really believe in God, is someone that has to see something to believe it type deal, and she's not a liar. And she told me, she's like, yo, if you want to hear a creepy story, she's like, when I was 6 years old, the only thing that I can remember is that Slender Man. I woke up and something was standing over me, tall as fuck, with and she just remembers the red eyes. And she's like, I made sure that I was awake and it wasn't a dream. And it like stayed in the room watching her. And she like, I don't, the story she told me it made me feel creepy as fuck because I knew she wasn't lying. And I've looked at the Slender Man stuff before, and I know people have like killed people and committed suicide
Oh
about
yeah.
the thing, dude. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely
There's
shit in this world we don't understand, dude. And
oh yeah. But it's like shit too. Like people like, and this is like you gotta be a skeptic, right? Some stuff can be attributed to
yeah,
not
sleep
sleep paralysis,
paralysis.
or
Yep.
like sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
right? Oh yeah, you saw shadow figures. You're just like sleep deprived. Why the fuck is it that when everyone is sleep deprived, they see fucking shadow figures?
That does. Yeah.
You ever thought about that? Like that's like okay, like granted, all right, that explain it, but it doesn't explain why everybody's seeing the same fucking thing,
Sleep
right?
to me is something, another thing that we don't think about enough.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, as a guy that suffers from two sleep disorders, like
Same here.
sleep can have a huge fucking effect on your fucking
This is what
life.
I mean. Now, not only does shit get really, really weird when you don't sleep, what really is happening when we sleep? Where are we? Where
Exactly.
does Nick go?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I've had some pretty trippy fucking dreams, dude. When I say,
Yep.
and I've had to write them down a few times, like right when because as the day progresses after it fades, um, I feel like it's some form of travel to us. I know this might sound
Yeah.
crazy to some people, dude, but I feel like it is some form of either another. I mean, we live in a dimension, either a form of, I don't know, some form of travel. I truly
Yeah.
believe.
Have you
Um,
had that moment where like you don't remember the dream when you woke up, but like suddenly you're doing something throughout the day and just like a smell or a
Snacks
sound or
you.
like
Yeah.
just like a fucking flashbang goes off in your head and it's
Yes.
like suddenly you get rushed with this entire memory and it's like feels so real, like your heart races. Like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean because I've had instances in dreams like that are not rooted in my reality. And what I mean is
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
they're
Perfectly.
not related to
Perfect.
something I'm
Yeah.
watching. They're not like a TV show,
Yeah.
I'm not in it. I'm someone else. There's people
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Oh yeah. It gets
That
trippy,
that that
man.
right what you just said right there, that I'm personally not in it, I'm someone else with people. Yeah, that means something, I feel like, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's once again, these are things that aliens, UFOs, the things that we're talking about, I feel like they're things that are above our intelligence to a certain degree, man.
Oh
Um,
yeah. There's just shit out there and I think some people are more sensitive to it.
yeah,
Like for me, like I love all this stuff. I have I'm fairly boring when it comes to my experiences. Like I've
same
seen
here.
stuff, but they're
Same here.
nothing like as compelling as like what my brother's experienced. Or like, my wife is a super skeptic. She is like exactly like you described. Got to see it to believe it, right? You know, but she saw Hatman as a kid. And she didn't even know what it was until she described it. She's like,
She saw
yeah.
what? She saw
You
what?
ever heard of Hatman?
No.
That's the meme where like, oh, if you take a bunch of Benadryl, the Hat Man comes and visits you. So if you go look into it, there are thousands of people that have seen a shadowy figure of a man in a bowler hat and a trench suit of
Really?
some like that, something of like along that description, but the hat, the bowler hat, right? The distinct bowler hat look. My wife in New York City, in her house, on two occasions with her and her sister, sorry, she has her sister to corroborate this as well. They're in the kitchen. They so the first time they saw
Oh,
a
awake.
awake a man in a bowler hat walk across their deck, and they have like this tiny ass fucking backyard
Yeah,
where
yeah,
there's
yeah.
houses on either side, and there's these tall ass walls. So he ain't going nowhere on the deck. That means if he was walking like this, he had to climb a like 6 feet over a wall and keep going, and then drop 12 feet, right?
Damn.
And they saw this, and they both were like, "What the fuck was that?" And then the second time, they came downstairs by themselves in the house, and as they came around the corner to the kitchen, it was standing right there watching them, just a shadowy figure, bowler hat, trench suit, just watching them, and then just kind of turns and walks out through the sliding glass door into the patio and disappears. Yeah. And she told me the story, and my brother was with me, and we're like, dude, you saw Hat Man. She's like, what's Hat Man? We like showed her the fucking
Really?
Wikipedia and into it. She's like, this is what I saw.
She's
The
not a person to like make
description.
some shit up.
No.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Dude, yeah.
Dude,
Like,
I really hope before I pass, before I go, I get some answers, man. I hope
oh yeah.
I just find out. I don't know what I want an answer to, but I hope,
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, we don't even know what we are, why we're here, what we're doing here, how we got. I mean, if you're religious, you have some form of, I guess, understanding of what we are and why we're here. But when you really like look into the Big Bang, that's the explanation that we have. I mean, there's questions that are raised, and
Oh yeah.
I
But it
mean,
goes back to the simplest answer, maybe the most complicated one.
facts.
That, fucking it gets crazy, man, out there, especially when you start looking into these things. And
Because
yeah,
the more you look into it, bro, you start
the weirder it
realizing,
gets.
yeah, the north that you thought was north is actually south. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
get
like it's like that pyramid meme where it's like as you go deeper, like the things get crazier.
yeah.
Like there's like, oh, you start off with UFOs and then suddenly you're down here like, oh yeah, actually time is a construct. Like we're missing like 10,000 years of our time
I'm just getting
because
there.
of
I'm just getting there. I'm getting to the point where I know this sounds crazy, dude. I'm starting to question space. I'm starting to question.
space is fake and gay.
Listen, I've heard this stories from other people and I've talked shit about it, and that's why I'm saying it now, and I'm just like I'm cringing when I say it. But I'm getting to the point where I'm reading about the firmament layer, and
Yeah.
how we as a s- we haven't got any craft into space. We have not left a point of the atmosphere, basically, because I don't know if it's the radiation in the layer or what really it is, but I always thought, I mean, but then again, you believe we went to the moon. But I think the moon is actually within that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, there's
But
get some we get zany. Then we start talking like dark forest theory,
yeah.
fucking like, the fucking hunters in the dark theory,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, the aliens have been here since like day one, or like I just personally think like we're some backwater world and people are just stumbling upon us. Like they're either refugees or they're people that just like kind
Well,
of get
why would
lost
why
and
would
end up
what
here.
why would they not come down and be like, "Hey, what's good? My name's Alvin." You
True.
know?
I mean, think about like I think Star Trek. I do believe there's a little bit of like kind of like inspiration like Star Trek, right? Like what was like the grand directive if they encountered intelligent life, they weren't supposed to interact with it at all, or just interact as least as possible. Because like I think there's like an episode where they accidentally do it on purpose, and then like the aliens start worshiping the Enterprise as like a god. So
Oh
they
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. You alter like things that you shouldn't, basically. Yeah.
yeah. But there's plenty of evidence where like UFOs get involved in, like you said, natural disasters, nuclear testing, like all sorts of crazy shit. And maybe they are here and they're like, like, you probably shouldn't do this. Like,
Did you see the
we're
video
gonna,
of I think it was a rocket or a missile that was launched, and it showed the discs circling around it and
yeah,
disabling it?
yeah. Or like there was a famous case. It was Maelstrom missile base or something like that. They're going to do a test. They're going to launch, like, I think they're going through the launch procedures or they're going to test fire a missile. It wasn't like doing it in real life, but like basically on the security dude saw this UFO over the missile silo and disabled all the systems.
That's
Like,
wild.
yeah, maybe like I also like to think like maybe, yeah, this is advanced life that's gone beyond nuclear power. And like nuclear power obviously will fuck up the earth if we use nukes. Like it's something like if you drop more than like 12 nukes, it's going to irreversibly change like the ecology of the earth, right? So maybe they know that and they're like, it's not a road you want to go down.
I just
Like,
heard a theory. His name is Jason Jorgensen. Um, he's a reporter, and he has some wild theories, but he claims that he has a high up person in the CIA that told him that human beings, that we've made contact with some other, intelligence, and that intelligence claims that human beings were put here as containers. I don't know exactly what he didn't explain
yeah, I've heard
or
that
what
too.
what that is. Containers of souls or containers of, I don't know what. You can speculate on your own, but
So I got another idea. This is like kind of I get this idea from like reading science fiction, right? Is you can talk about all these civilizations that have progressed to like faster than like travel and this like beyond like the mortal means, right? So like what if they've forgotten how to fight, right? They forgot like what how to fight a war, right? They've left behind their own humanity, what they consider humanity, to ascend to this new level. And then there's us. Like we're still this upstart race. Like we have
Yeah,
emotions,
gotcha.
you know.
That makes sense.
Like I think like the X-Files kind of touched on that, where it's like
Like they
basically,
progressed past any kind of aggression.
yeah, any type of creativity other than like just pure, scientific creation, So it's like inevitably maybe they find us with all of that and they want to get back into that. I think the X-Files kind of touches on that. Or
Well,
maybe they're just here and they're just like, oh shit, we found intelligent life.
what I was getting at with that reporter, he was saying that all alien life is human beings that have progressed to either, I mean, technically what it says is the only way that the human being race can survive is if we progress to some form of robot, if you will, or
Mm-hmm.
AI life.
This the singularity.
Yeah. Um, but that is what he claims is flying around in the skies is
Yeah.
also something to think about. I mean, whenever you hear about UFOs, usually they're a saucer to a certain degree. It's spinning. And what happens at a large volume of speed that's spinning is time travel, apparently. It bend because
Yeah.
when you're going fast enough, you're going past the speed of light, which technically is breaking time barriers, if you will. Um, I mean, that could be
I like it. I
that could be
like it.
what's happening with that. I mean, it's just another theory. Maybe a old race of human being that's either been on Earth for a while or progressed from human. I mean, it's something to speculate about. I mean, it's cool to just maybe just ponder what it could be.
Oh yeah. I do love pondering things, man. And it's like I like your idea. There's a science fiction book that's like kind of obscure, but people like it. All Tomorrows. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I'll
So
check
it's
it out.
written a while, but yeah. So you can find it on PDF. It's like for free. But it's basically this dude like wrote about like the human race gets defeated by this like ancient alien civilization that is like super powerful, and they basically like devolve everyone and turn them into different life forms. And it follows through the eyes of another alien, like as he documents like humanity, like
Yeah, yeah,
how they get de-evolved into these forms and how they evolve into like these new creatures. But basically it goes full circle. It's like eventually the
that's what I mean.
humanity it's implied like humanity and their predecessors, or I'm sorry, their whatever comes after that,
Yeah,
whatever. You know what I mean? Like the people that have the things that evolved from humanity
past
eventually become
humanity.
that alien. It's implied they become that alien race.
That dominant. Yeah, gotcha.
And it's just like the circle repeats like that.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That could be that's crazy to think that. But I don't know. It's something to pass the time other than, the shit show that we call
Yeah.
our life right now.
And
But
that's why we love this stuff, because
true.
we
It
can go
take it
down these
takes you
rabbit
away a
holes.
little bit. It takes you away
It
from
does.
the minutia of today, if you will. So, if you will, what's the goal for Tales of the Grid Square, man? You're just gonna kind of keep going on what you're doing and finding cool
Yeah.
stories and breaking them. I like it.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah. I try to put them all in as you know, like I have like two books out right now. Try to document them because I feel like you put them on paper, like they're real now, like they're there, not gonna go vanish into the fucking
Where can
abyss.
people find your stuff?
Yeah, so if you want to follow Tales from the Grid Square, I'm primarily on Instagram. Uh, Tales from the Grid Square at it's Tales underscore from underscore the Grid Square, all one word. On Instagram, I got an email, Tales from the Grid Square at gmail.com. You can, if you have a story you want to share, you can DM me for all the page, DM me directly, send me an email for that email. If you want to read the books, they're on Amazon. It's Tales from the Grid Square Volume 1 and Tales from the Grid Square Volume 2. I do have Tales from the. I plan to put out Tales from the Gridsquare Volume 3, hopefully in November, just in time for the holidays. Just because I've been kicking the can just a little bit here, but I keep planning to keep doing this. I want to have fun with it eventually. People want to have podcasts, but I'm like, I give you a lot of credit, man. I don't know. I can't. I
Dude,
haven't figured out
it's a
what a Tales
grind,
from the
bro.
Gridsquare
It's a grind.
podcast would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and like living in Hawaii right now, it's just like I appreciate you coming on because I know it's early as fuck for you right
It's all good.
now.
It's all good. But
Um,
I'd love to see you progress into a podcast, dude, to hear some of these stories, just a lot of people it would be tough because a lot of people want to stay anonymous, which I understand, but it would be
mhm.
cool to see it in some kind of format, other than just on Instagram, most definitely. It would kind
Oh
of
yeah,
kind of make it more real, if you will.
no, yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics behind it. There might be some cool. I'm trying to work like maybe doing like a show based on like some of the stories. Like just work with other people on this. Like, there's definitely like the kind of like the world's my oyster with this. But at the gist of it, I still want to start talking to veterans. I want to keep talking to people in the military from like Canada, from wherever, U.S. I want
Honestly,
to
dude,
collect their
I think
stories.
you're the only one doing this for like military wise, like actually like giving them a platform to put out, kind of some creepy shit.
I think the only one I know that does anything like this is Wartime Stories, and we actually cross paths
Collab.
quite a bit.
That's
So
cool.
some of the stories he puts on there, some of the stories I give him because he gives me a shout out, and like vice versa, he sends people my way to record some of their stuff too. I'm always on the internet too. I'm like looking through Reddit. There's so
Yeah.
much gold on Reddit. I mean, some of it's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, my goal is to keep like these are people's stories that they want to share, and maybe they don't want to share them under traditional venues. They want to stay anonymous, like you said, to keep not get ridiculed and stuff like that. And so like I hope that I can one be a resource for them to just get stuff off their chest, and then two for the boys to like get their
Of course.
minds. If they want to go blow through my page and go look at stuff and look at funny memes and read the stories and
Oh yeah.
forget that they're on a stupid ass detail.
Yep.
That makes me happy. If when somebody tells me like I love your page, it takes my mind off of like the grind. Like I love hearing that. That makes me so happy because that's exactly what I want to do.
Oh yeah. Love to hear it, brother. Well, hey man, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and talk with me, dude. I gotta say I love what you're doing, and I look forward to following it and seeing where you go with it.
Oh man, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, maybe we can talk again in the future, but in the meantime, Semper Fi, and keep your head down out there, brother.